So, hello everyone, welcome back. We are ready to start with Frank's talk. Just a small anecdote about Frank. I first met him 8 years ago in Darmstadt. It was my first TUG conference, so there was a lot of new faces. And there was this weird guy riding his bike 20 kilometers back and 20 kilometers there every day for the conference. And it was like, wow, that's a cool guy. And then I learned that the name of the guy is Frank Mittelbach. So he is a cool guy, and the talk will be cool, I think, as well. So enjoy.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm going to bore you a little bit with 35 years of my life in the tech world plus COVID. And that makes up something like 90 slides. And that in turn means whenever I say more than 3 sentences on a slide, somebody please do this so that I know I have to move on and ignore the rest, except for the first 2 slides or something. Okay? Ready? Let's see. Okay, so my journey into tech started around 84, 85, I can't remember really, by getting a tape from Stanford, one of those big ones, and we tried to, because somebody found that tech is such a wonderful thing he saw in Stanford, and we tried to implement that on Multics, which was our mainframe in the university. We actually succeed, but we didn't have any printer that worked, because the printer had 72 dots per inch, and the fonts had 200 dots per inch. So if we printed something out, the size of the letters were like this. So, end of story, basically, after having actually managed to get tech running. And, come on. Okay. A while later, we actually got PCs, and I got a copy of Lamport's book before it got published. It was 2006. And I thought this is rather great, and I tried to use it on the PC, and it died because of memory, out of memory when article got loaded. So what I had to do was I had to implement my own format, which was a really good learning curve, which was trying to get some of the ideas that Leslie had into an even smaller bit. So this was called FMTech, well, Wayne Guy, right? And we had a bunch of PhD and master thesis and so being published with it. And a while later, we really got more memory into the PCs, and finally we could use LaTeX, so this got retired. And this was the time when I was developing sort of things like array, doc, theorem, multicol, and so forth. And I got through at the times also some substantial checks, at least for me, from Don, because looking through the program you can find bugs, and then you got nice checks. And I also started sort of communicating with Leslie about all things that I thought were wrong. And yeah, this is kind of the starting point, and it got me into Stanford. Because I got in '89, I got the Donald Knuth Scholarship, and that was kind of a lifetime changing experience. I was allowed to fly to the US as a young student and go to this conference and stand in front of Don and Leslie and tell them what's all wrong with all this stuff. Yeah. So here are some pictures from that time. This is Don with the lion, in the back is John Hobby. On the right, Don and Jill, his wife. Bottom left is Don just giving me the plaque of the scholarship, and left of him is Bart Childs, the president. And this is the happy anniversary of 10 years of tech, so I came in late. In contrast to some other people who have seen tech from the very beginning. Okay, this is also Stanford. On the left is, as I said, my talk where I was standing there and saying, oh, this is all wrong in LaTeX. And the guy on the right is me. I mean, I'm looking like that still, isn't it? Okay. Yeah, I talked about checks. This is some picture that I have on my wall, full of those checks. In the middle is a drawing by Duane Bibby, which was commissioned by Leslie for his private use. I think that was never published otherwise. You see two of the checks are actually in a different color. And the reason is I was a fairly pure student at the time, so even though it was checks from Don, I actually cashed them. And that bought me the art of, not the art of computer and typesetting, the whole series. So I brought them back from Stanford using those checks back then. Come on, this is a bit unresponsive. So a result of this meeting was that Leslie Lamport basically, after talking to me and Chris at the conference, basically dropped the whole thing into our lab and said, well, why don't you do it if you know better? Well, he did it more politely, but in that sense, so this was the start of the LaTeX project, really. At the time, being Chris and myself, Rainer in Germany as well, but he wasn't there in Stanford, in San Francisco and Stanford, and Leslie as a consulting person at the time. A year later, this is Texas. It's all before the time I really have much pictures, but anyway. On the left, you see the talk that or the first page of the talk that I gave in Texas, where I looked at TeX and said, yeah, what is good about TeX and what is not actually so good. And I got a lot of heat back then. Some people were really upset that I was questioning what Don has done. The most memorable thing from that time was that somebody said, who is this unknown German typographer anyway who claimed that this is important? This unknown German typographer being Hermann Zapf. Yeah, okay, so this was Texas. The same year we were in Cork. That's still me and Crystal. That's the only picture I have. The team got bigger. So this is Rainer on the left, David, Johannes, he is here, Alan Jeffrey, Dennis Duchier, Michael Downs, and Robin Fairbairns at the time. So there was a lot of development at those times. Here are sort of 4 of the key points. They are all still relevant, and the last one actually has only become very recently relevant, as you probably know by now. But they were all sort of developed already around the early 90s. We were much enthusiastic about producing a LaTeX 3, which then became a kind of running joke. But okay, next year, 91, was a conference. There's no pictures, but there was the best conference picture ever, in my opinion. They were hand-drawn. Everybody had its own picture. And that was, I still have it, as you can see, and it's still in fairly good shape. One thing that I remember from that conference, I was introduced to a Japanese lady from some publishing house, and she showed me how to do Japanese on a laptop. And that was fascinating because, I mean, my laptop was way more simple, and seeing how she could actually type Japanese on such a keyboard and everything and how this works was a great experience. Okay. Again, 91, a picture of Don visualized with the web. And for the old timers who may still know what a web is, I thought this was rather a nice picture that I took out there. It was a year when Don got his honorary doctorate in Stockholm, and afterwards we went into the woods basically for a weekend together. And this is where this picture was taken. Yeah, as I said, busy years. I don't want to go in through here, but we were all doing a lot of work during those times, having working sessions, and back then it was all very difficult. I mean, this is before the days of real internet. I mean, our communication were through BitNet, and if I wanted to communicate some code to the UK, it actually didn't survive the mail gateway because there were two IBM machines, and they both spoke AppStick, so they could go from one to the other, except that one was German AppStick and the other one was UK AppStick, and things like backslash, %, tilde, and one other sort of mangled into each other in a way you couldn't even reconstruct them. So back then somebody wrote a VV encode program that condensed the stuff even more than UU encode or zip, so that you only used 6 bytes. And that just survived then to get this going. Yeah, 1992, we had a really, really good workshop together for a week. The team came to my place. We had fun with playing Civilization in the night. Some of the code still says something like, Crete is still losing, as a comment somewhere in the LaTeX code, I think. That was L not really winning the game. And this here, I thought it would be nice because you see this poem at the bottom. It's actually talking about an idea of mine, which was already back then in the running. Getting rid of spaces in your code, or basically ignoring it, and so you don't have to worry about the % sign and all this stuff. Now this is nowadays, if you use code from the Expo3 or the LaTeX programming layer, this is now sort of the standard in that environment. But it took another 20 years to go from, oh, this is insane, to actually a working solution. Okay, so where we are. Yeah, we were in Prague, 1992, still believing that LaTeX 3 is just around the corner. Here's our thoughts on the design interface. This is Chris on the left and me up there, and the middle part is Jaco from Poland, and Phil Taylor, Barbara, and David, and myself on the bottom. Yups. Another thing that happened around that time, and I think Ulrich spoke about it yesterday, we had a collaboration between Gutenberg and the LaTeX project, and they financed the student for 3 months to come to Mainz and work with us together on math encoding. That was Justin Ziegler. And there you see Alan and Justin in the back. This is again from Prague, I think. No, this is from, I can't remember. That must be Aston. That was Aston then. Yeah. And it was good learning experience. I think we did good work, but it didn't actually make much of a dent. By the end of the day, the ideas never got into practice except for a prototype implementation by Ulrich and some other people. Okay, yeah, I mean, it was good to get all this information together, so I think the work was actually helpful in many respects, but only sort of in the background. Okay, what else do I have to say? Yeah, here, 1993, a full working LaTeX 3 kernel. This format actually typeset its own documentation. So it was really working. The only problem, this is a page, the first page of the documentation. The only problem was you died of coffee consumption waiting for it. And you would die of coffee consumption even if you do a 3-page document. It was way too slow. You couldn't use it on normal computers. And so in 1993, Leslie visited me in spring in Mainz, and we came to the conclusion that this is all a great idea, but we have to step back and do something else because we are just not ready to make this work in practice. And so we decided to produce LaTeX to Epsilon instead, which was basically saying all the good stuff that we have and that is more or less working and in different sort of areas in form of packages and incompatible formats, we bring together in a single format. And this is what we've done. There was not so much work to do to get it doing. David had to implement color and graphics, but that was more or less all that was necessary to make it work. So already in 1994, at the Santa Barbara conference, which is what this T-shirt, I found it. It actually has a lot of holes in it. All the blue went away and turned into holes. But back there, we announced that LaTeX to Epsilon is normalizing everything. And that was the start of what you can call today's LaTeX in some sense. And yeah, I have one bad memory from that conference, which is I walked on the beach over lunch with David, in my opinion, and when I came back, I had a sunburn all over here. It was half an hour, and it was so hurtful. And I think, what's his name? Mike Ferguson. He came by bike from Canada to this place. So talking about 20 kilometers of biking is nothing in the tech world. He came down to Santa Barbara with his bike. He gave me aloe vera, and so I learned about the cooling effects of aloe vera, still nice today in such occasions. Yeah, that was really, really hurtful. And there was also a talk by Michael and Michel and myself about producing the first LaTeX companion, because that happened at the same time. And it's quite interesting. I reread this one to see what we said back then, what the problems were, and there were totally different ones. Like, how do you get something from Europe to the US transferred? Because that meant taking floppy disks to some mainframe to upload it there, then to send it to Rhode Island somewhere on another mainframe where it was picked up to be taken to Pearson or Addison Wesley back then, so that they could do copy editing. Different these days. Very different. And we got all the copy editing stuff in paper form by UPS back, marked in paper, and then doing all the changes. So this is what came out. Rather the one on the left. And the book was an interesting writing because we wrote it at the time when we were actually changing LaTeX at the same time. So it was describing the new version of LaTeX, which was changing underneath it. So we always sort of had the problem of getting the two in sync. But eventually it came out well and was well received. A couple of years later, we did the graphics companion together with Sebastian Rath. And that was much simpler because LaTeX to E really normalized the stuff a lot. And that was good. And in the beginning, there were not so many packages around, so it was really sort of a standardization effort that took off and took off well. A year later, there was a conference in Prague and Brno. And what happened with LaTeX 2E, we had this new font selection in, and TeX 3 was around since Stanford. So now you could really use other languages than English. But there was a big problem, which was that all the computers were running on 8-bit code pages, so the computers wouldn't understand each other anymore. Because a German code page on Windows looks different to a US code page or whatever, French keyboard and so. And our answers back then was to introduce input encoding. And these are the slides I was from the talk I was giving back then. So what is this on the bottom? Yeah, this is of course a pound sign where you unfortunately end up with a dollar sign if you happen to use italic font. That was TeX answer to this. And of course, depending on what kind of bill this was, it could be good or bad. I think back then the difference between German Deutschmark and dollar was something like 1 to 4. It's not quite that bad these days, but yeah, so quite a difference. On the bottom is somebody you know, sitting over there, and his wife, Petra. Yeah, they were our hosts there. Yeah, a year later or so, LaTeX 2E actually took off a lot. As you can see, it was really fun to make this slide, finding all these pictures of different books that have been written at the time. So it's an enormous number of languages. Does anybody know where this drawing came from? I took, to confess, this talk was meant to be given in Lübeck, I think, just before the COVID started, and so it was never finished, but I've done that part of the talk already back then. I have no idea where I found this nice graphic by Duane Bivy. It was somewhere on the web, but I forgot it. Okay, if not, then not. Would be interesting. Yeah, 1997, I got an invitation to Japan. Was there for the first time, together with a couple of other people. The person on the left is unknown. I don't know why I have this picture. On the right is Werner Lemberg, who you may know from his work for CJK and font stuff in that area. Okay, so this was Japan. On the top left, there's the talk that I was giving there, which again is something I still is very much important nowadays, and it never got finished. As so many things, it just takes about 20 years time or more to ripe, and maybe that is coming at one point. Some of the ideas got put into Babel, but there's still some I think good ideas that are worth exploring once more. Yeah, 1997, again, TeX went back to San Francisco. There's Chris and David, and at the time, my editor, Peter Gordon, sort of talked David and myself into this would be nice to have a design companion. And we actually sort of signed up a proposal for that, and then at some point later decided it's just not ripe to write this book. There's actually 250 pages written, but it's still sitting on my desk somewhere. Anyway, it was canceled, but somehow it escaped from some internal database in marketing. And since then, this book is haunting me. It's coming up like there, somewhere on the internet, being announced as being available, or becoming available, or being available for some time. The last incarnation of that is that the second part of the LaTeX Companion 3rd edition is suddenly delivered under the name LaTeX Design Companion. It has it has the right kind of text around it. It has the right kind of ISBN. Everything is correct except for the title, which is back this one. I have no idea how this is happening, but it's not just on Amazon wrong. It's also on other resellers wrong. So it's somewhere again in the database, and I don't get rid of it. We have to write it one day. There's no way around it, so that this has to go away. Okay, that was 1997. And then end of 1997, big change of focus. As you see, a couple of years of sleepless nights ahead, and not so much tech and LaTeX. But yeah, still some tech and LaTeX. So yeah, these are my three sons in early days. So, 1999, Vancouver was really a great conference. Some people that you may not have seen, but they are probably known to you. On the left is Donald Arsenault, on the left bottom I mean, known for URL and many other packages which are really cute and long time going. In the middle is Sebastian Ratz, preparing for the poetry contest that we had on that conference, which was really fun. Everybody was standing up there with what's this called? Mur something, and a longish T-shirt, and citing some poem they just invented on the top of a fountain. And on the top right, there is a panel. I don't think you can see this. On the left is Ross Moore, Michael Downs, David. I can't be sure about the others. Okay, so this was Vancouver. One story in Vancouver. Sebastian, on a way to some exhibition of something, took me into a bookshop, went to the children's section, took out a book, says, buy and read. Okay, it looked a little bit funny, some guy with glasses, bit of red on the title, red colors, children drawing. Yeah, so I started to read in the evening, and I finished at 4:30 in the morning. And my talk was at 9 in the morning, and if there was anybody there at this conference, I don't know how I made it. I can't remember much of the rest of that day. It was Harry Potter, by the way. So I got introduced to Harry Potter pretty early, before it was really famous. So this is actually a first edition of the book, but third printing, so not so good in terms of being valuable. But anyway. The other thing that happened, I brought A0 pictures of art by Alban Grimm. He is an art professor in Mainz, and what you see here is text from the Apocalypse. This is meta font. His own fonts. The graphic is actually also the text, and it's just distorted metafont. So he was playing around with metafont on pixel printers, deliberately very coarse stuff, and producing these kind of graphics. And I brought this over to Vancouver. We had a huge exhibition there, and I think some people took the stuff back because I didn't. I gave them away. That was the intention. And about, what is this, 1999, so about 20 years later, this is also used by Don Knuth in his music setting of his Fantasia piece. We come to this later. So this was Alban Grimm. 2000, Dante. Gave honorary membership to Hermann Zapf, and I was allowed to give the laudatio. On the right, there's the Thomas Koch, the president back then, who died unfortunately. There's a young myself together with a young Chris going through slides. I mean, this was all real stuff. I still have them, like these size of stuff that you have to take to conference to put on overhead projectors. You see Hermann Saff together in discussion with Hans Hagen and Thunder Han on the right. Okay, also 2000, somewhat later, we had a wonderful conference in Oxford, which is, yeah, nice, as you see. I don't remember much of the talks from there. Mine was about something which is also unfinished or worked as a prototype and then waiting for being done in a real earnest, which is about output routines. And now, together with the tagged PDF project, we are about to be ready to actually take this on to make a new output routine. You see Sebastian, David, Michael, well, myself, and Robin talking there. I think, David, you gave a talk about XML, the passive version, right? This was the debate back then, right? So I think that was it. Anyway, the other interesting talk back then was Thunder Han. He talked about all the new exciting stuff about PDF tag. And the slide on the right was like this, and it got a big laugh. The future of PDF tag quit. Now, he was fully wrong back at the time, but of course, it becomes a little bit more like nowadays, there will be a time when this is actually becoming true, and maybe PDF tag is being superseded by the Unicode engines. But yeah, he was totally wrong back then. Some other influential people, see if you recognize them. On the right, Robin, somewhere in the back, somewhere. Where is she? Michael, Michel Goossens, Hans Hagen, John Place, Phil Taylor, Barbara, talking about, I don't know what, maybe. And he is delivering prizes. I have no clue why John Place got a duck, but ducks are around for a long time, as you see. And there's another copy of Harry Potter being given away, but it was not given to me because I got mine earlier. I think I got a Colin Dexter because Oxford and crime, and I love this guy, so probably this is what I got. Another conference in Tokyo, you see on the left, this is Javier, John Place. There's a nice explanation what TUG means on the left bottom. I didn't know that before, but obviously this is the real meaning of the acronym. And Yannis Haralambous on the right. The older people will know him from giving wonderful talks about impossible things to do with fonts and all this stuff. So this was him. Yeah, some more pictures from that time. I just got a digital camera. As you can see, I bought this in Japan. This is why there are always the dates showing suddenly. Later on, I decided this is stupid, but back then I was really fascinated about all this stuff. And I was really pleased with Japan and people and the food and everything. You can see that very much on the right. Top left is Martin Buchholz, who was active at the time very much in XEMAX. He was there also, so maybe you know him. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, the year after, or no, I don't know how many years after, but anyway, in 2002 and 2003, there was the big controversy about the TeX software, and especially LaTeX, not being open source, not free. Free, sorry, open source, yeah, but not free. And Debian threatened to throw TeX and LaTeX out of their distributions, and you can read through this. It was really not a nice time to fight this battle. It took a long time to get to a point where everybody was happy enough to go on doing sensible stuff. And yeah, as a result, LPPL is much more complicated than it should be, because before it said something like you can do what you like as long as if you change it, change the name. And that was not free for some people. Okay, now, 1600 messages is really sort of kind of a record for one topic. Yeah, 2002 in December, I got a phone call from Michael, which really shocked me. He phoned me up and said, Frank, I don't think I can work on the LaTeX Companion 2nd edition with you, because I don't believe that I survive next year. I have a brain tumor, and he was unfortunately very much right. In March, everything was over, and he was 43, something like this. Young, small kids, very, very young. It was really, really a shock and a sad loss to everybody and to the tech community. So yeah, this is Michael. He's responsible for many things in the LaTeX world, and yeah, was a good friend. 2003, there was a meeting, I think Dante, in Bremen, which was a bit international because the TUG team assembled at that time. You see a lot of people in this big picture, if you ignore me on the left. Let's see. Next one is Thomas Esser, who did the TTAG, which is the Unix tech at the time. Then Fabrice Popignon, who did TeX Live and also the FP tag distribution at that time. Olaf Weber, Web2C, Christian Schenk, then Joachim Schroth, Sebastian Ratz, and on the right is Staszek, sorry, I'm unable to pronounce his last name, I never used it. Staszek, very key. Okay, he again is TeX Live. He unfortunately died a few years back, falling into the Eastern Sea. Never got clear what happened, but yeah. So yeah, bottom left, Sebastian in a good pose. And on the right, this is Peter Breitenlohner. You will know him from his work for eTag and for the tech world on the engine side. So yeah, the TeX maintainers have, I think, oh yeah, I forgot to say first row, Robin, Rainer, and Jim. We saw him yesterday, and of course, thank you. My memory is getting worse if I don't have something to write down. Yeah, Reinhard, yes, of course. None of the CETA members are still there. We should make a picture of CETA maintainers. I mean, a lot of them are here today, but not all of them. Yeah, okay, anyway, this is 2003, there was a conference in Brest. Yannis was or is working there on the university, and he was the host. And as you see on the top right, one of the problems with French conferences was that if it was an international one, you had to have translation, which you can't really avoid. If you are a small scale group. So doing an international TUG meeting and then having to pay for translation is way out of question unless you get support. I don't know if this is still the case, but it was back then. Yeah, another one from 2004. We were in Darmstadt. Hermann Zapf was there. You see a lot of people that you have seen in the last days as well. Bottom left is Fabrice and Jerzy Ludwikowski. Yes, he was the president of GUST, the Polish user group, for a long time. He was it then. Yeah, Chris and Joachim and Robin. A bit more. This guy on the right in the left picture, it might be me. Then we have Jörg Knappen on the left there, who did the DC fonts and was involved in TS1 and so on in the font work back then, and Walter Schmidt, who was also very active in font work and did a lot there. Then Thomas Esser again and Harald König. Again, Jim and Fabrice, and there is Volker and Hermann Zapf signing something for Volker, I guess, and me looking very critical if everything is done correctly. Okay, 2004 we managed to get, after nearly 10 years, the second edition of the companion, this time with 5 authors. Christine and Joachim joined for the indexing, and who else was new? David and Chris did, I don't know, a lot of different things, math and whatever. Johannes on the Babel side and probably other stuff. Anyway, those were the total number of authors. And the book was getting bigger, from 300 something to 1,100 here in this case. And as you know, I spoke about it before, we are now at another 800 more. So I'm not sure what a 4th edition would mean. I'm not sure I want to know. 2005, we were in a place similar to this, not quite. It was a cloister. The conference was actually a combination of Dante and Eurotech, or Dante and Gutenberg, I can't remember exactly, but both Hermann Zapf as well as Don attended, as you see on the left. On the bottom right, we have Karel Scoopy. He did work on the NTS system, beside other things. The attempt to refactor TeX using Java, which, well, died at some point without having an effect in the end, because it turned out it couldn't be refactored in this way. And on the top left, you see Adam Twador. He's the, beside other things, he's the font designer for Lato. Co-design, yeah. There are some other people involved. Yes, you're quite right. Yeah, and of course you do some feasting in those conferences sometimes. And here you see Hermann Zapf improving on the cake. And yeah, we are in the new millennium, and we got new people joining the LaTeX team. So you saw Joseph today, this morning. Javier joined, Morten joined, Will Robertson joined. Will is, yeah, you know him from Font Spec, for example. And Bruno Lefroch is the one who made everything go fast and incredibly good. That's Bruno. Was there a comment? No? Okay. Why is this not working? Yeah, 2007, we decided to also produce a new graphics companion with 2 new authors added, Denise and Herbert. I actually don't have good pictures of both, so I took the ones that I have. You see Denise next to Sebastian there, and a somewhat bored-looking Herbert from some Dante conference that I had. But yeah, and the book got put out of print by Addison Wesley to everybody's surprise, including the editor of mine. But the moment you do this in marketing, and it has been done, you can't go back. So we got the rights back, and then Lehmanns decided that they would like to republish, and I said okay, because the contents is actually basically fine, as long as you clearly mark it as being a reprint from 2004. And they did this, and this is what the book came out. 2008, Cork. Now this was, again, very nice. Do you notice something strange in this picture? In these pictures? No? Well, it says TEC 30. And a while back in '89, it said TEC 10. So we gained a year. Whatever it was, I thought it funny. And I think there is a debate on where you call the start of TEC or something, whether this is 77 or 79 or whatever. And so, yeah, maybe they compromised on 78 in this year. Yep, this was my first talk where I tried to do a history of what we did, and also my attempt to say goodbye, because I thought my time was sort of my useful time was over in that space. On the top you see Boris and our host, Flynn, but what's his first name? Peter Flynn. And on the bottom you see a smiling Nelson Beebe, probably smiling about I'm going to leave. I don't know. Alan Honig, and also another person which is in the audience. Have you spotted him? No? Reinhard Kutscher. So, yeah, this is what I wanted to say about this. Nobody gives me a sign. What can you do in a conference, in a tech conference, other than talks? Well, you can go to a whiskey tasting, or you can go to a banquet. Quite nice in Cork. Then 2010, San Francisco, quite a memorable one. Don gave a wonderful speech about iTech. iTech. And this is the software he was secretly working on that solves all the problems, and there is a recording of this talk, so you can find it on the internet. It's quite amusing. This is also an interesting photo. This is a panel of Don together with his students at the time, so you see all the names that actually made TEC being the TEC that you know. The other one is, on the left, is my talk that I gave there, the title slide, about coffins. Now, coffins is, some people object to using such morbid names for software. But then I can only say it describes very nicely the concept, and also I like dark humor once in a while, so it's there now for 20 years. And by the way, TeX has a lot of dark humor if you look into various places in Don's books, and The Joy of TeX. Just look at this book and start and wonder. But okay, this is this. What else? A year after, the TUG conference went to India, and I nearly missed it, which is very simple. I have a German passport, and I got really used to travel anywhere. 5 minutes? Ho, ho, ho. No, 10 minutes. I don't ask for questions. Yeah, and there are two guys you can't distinguish, so I have the picture. You see down there? This is me and Didier. Yeah, what I was going to do there is I was just expecting I can go to India. And then Barbara sent me an email, did you got your visa? And I said, visa? Yeah, you have to have the visa. And yeah, I just managed about a day before the actual flight to have it with all the necessary details and the picture, which was a strange shape and everything. Yeah, it was really, really tight. But yeah, very interesting conference back then. Paolo Denei, I can't see what is on the left, but maybe you can know. It's Boris, and who else? I can't see this. Yeah, Boston 2012, a lot of past presidents. You see Bart Childs, one of the first, Steve Peter, Nelson Beebe, Christina Thiele, and in the back, Carl Berry. Interesting architectures there in this. And then we came 2013 to Tokyo, which was fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And I loved this country, I must say. And as an exhibition, we did go to the printing museum, and we had to do our own printing, which is shown there. And the task was to print your name, which may be. Mittelbach. Yeah, got it? Oops. Mittelbach. So this was what I was supposed to print, and this is the one that you see on the right. And in the afternoon, we did calligraphy, and I produced this thing after, I don't know, 3 hours of trying the same all the time, which is saying long life, to give it to my mom, which was turning 80 in this year. And now this year she turned 90, so maybe it worked. 2014, this was a trip to go by bike. And there we see the past president, Joachim Lamarche, with Marion Lamarche, his wife, and a younger version of the current president. And bottom lane is Markus Kohm, Heiko Oberdick, this guy you see in the audience as well, right? And there are a couple of more of those that you should recognize from here. So, Portland, 2014, we have to rush up. Carl Berry, Dick Koch, and Michael Sharper. Michael is responsible for a lot of the fonts that you can use these days in mathematics in PDF TeX. Yeah, 2014 also changed the LaTeX logo, and I'm really, really grateful to Paulo. So, absolutely. Because he drew that for us, and I think it just conveys the way that we are now changing and being agile and fast and everything, and yeah, nice. 2015, We went to, as an excursion, to the Grube Messel, which is sort of excavation stuff, and you can also excavate wine, as you can see, by the two gentlemen on the left. And anybody new on this? Ross Moore on the right, and Ulrike got her drawing of Duin Baby in this year from Dante. Yeah, there was some excitement. As you can see, we do the picture there, and a bit earlier, and we would have taken the photographer from below the rubble, because this is the place where the lorry didn't make the curve. This is where the photographer was standing. New team members. On the left bottom is Philippe Olnik, and on the top right is Jonas Jarek. He did the web design for our website. Marcel is here, and the other two you know as well. They are also here. Yeah, and then another very sad situation for me. Sebastian came up with just the same thing, basically. Not as early, but also with a brain tumor, and died in 2016. If you ever come to Rome, in the Protestant cemetery, there is a place where he is honored, or there's a place remembering him, a bank. Don't know exactly where, but because he liked this place so much. 2016, I had a long-standing invitation by Jerzy for, I think, 20 years to come to Bachot, and I always refused for different reasons. And there I decided to go. And I must confess, the stories about how nice Bachot is were just not true. They are much better. It's just enormous. This is your new president, in case you don't know him. This is Arthur. And what else? Moitza and Taco on the left, and then the big picture. Yeah, you do a lot of things in Bachot, which is doing work, but also feasting nicely and having great cakes and having a good barbecue, including fireworks and everything. There's this lake, and you always do creative art. So you see on the bottom that people are actually sort of producing something nice, being taught by good teachers. Toronto, Norbert Freining. Below on the bottom, this is Dave Walden. Left, then comes Charles Bigelow. Lucida Fons is what comes to mind if you know this name. And then Bringhurst, Robert Bringhurst, elements of type, right? So we're getting not through, so I have to jump. This is the excursion stuff that we had in various places. Bachot, that was the next year. TUG comes to Bachot, and it was very, very nice, except for this. You see all the different things. On the bottom, you see you can make music and still work at the same time. So Adam is sitting in the middle of all the musicians and trying to get some work done. And yeah, what was a little bit of a strange thing, Bachot 2017, is this. We had extreme cold. It was freezing, and the huts were not meant to be used with this, actually not. So 2018, I had an invitation to the 80th birthday of Don Knuth in the north of Sweden. So this is done by a crone. This picture, you see Martin talking in honor of Don. and various other people. It was a very nice setting, and one thing that happened there, and this is the reason why it was in this place, the first performance of Don's Fantasia Apocalyptica. You see on the left drawings by Duin Bibi. In the middle you see the text plus its translation. On the right you see the musical scores, which are played on the organ above. So that was quite an impressive performance that we all watched there. 2018, Bachot back to normal, not so big. They restarted the beer tasting, so for people liking beer, that's the place to go. They did it since then. And then 2018, we also went to Sugarleaf, and this is what I wanted to say about my wife likes to take pictures of me when I take pictures. So the butterfly there is the butterfly that I photographed, and you can actually see it in my iPhone. And yeah, no new people, a little bit of the LaTeX team posing in front of the Sugarleaf. On the left, this is Roberto Isalimski, one of the people behind Lua. It's not a very good picture, but the best that I had. And on the top, I don't know, do you know this guy, top left? Quack? Yeah, Quack, right. Okay, Bachot 2019, last time we had it, TUG was sponsoring, and is this year again sponsoring Ukrainian students. The people on the left are the Ukrainian students together with her t-shirt. On the right are the 3 Bachot lines. Yeah, you see, 3 Bachot lines. Otherwise, as before, we do nice work like building these little boxes. We have this cake, we do beer tasting, and then I went to Stanford. This is more or less exactly 30 years after the first time I went there, and it's more or less the same place where the other photo was taken. It's the other side of this building. This was the last in-person meeting, and now nothing works. Oops, there it comes. What you see on the right is Don Knuth's organ in his home, or maybe the house was built around the organ. I don't know how it worked, but I guess something like this. And this is the conference place where we stayed, the hotel. Couple of new people. Let me see if I get it right. Can't see this, so better look from here. On the left is David Fuchs, if I think correctly. And then, yeah, David Fuchs, then Didier, who's here, and Tom Rokicki. And on the bottom we have Peter, Eric Braun from the Sitang team, and Henry Menke, who's also in the audience. And this is me meditating about a possible project, if we get support from Adobe, and yep. So this was done after the conference in the Adobe headquarters. And then came a big hole. Cancelled, 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 announced, and cancelled. Not a nice time. And this is also not a nice time. Robin died at this in 22. And so we lost another member of the LaTeX team. And then in 22, at the end of that year, I went to the first in-person conference in Berlin, trying to talk to the PDF guys about what we are doing and how this relates to what their standard and what are the problems and what are the problems with the standard. So this is me as usual in some sense again. And then the finishing line. In the meantime, Ulrike and myself and Johannes And Joseph and Javier finished this one. And yeah, it's a bit bigger, and with that I think I'm done, except that we have these copies of this and should raffle them, I guess, now. So who wants to do the raffling? Not me. Not me, somebody should raffle. Barbara?
Yeah,
Barbara is good. No, he's not.
Okay, so the first one is Jan Šustek.
That is, of course, if you want it. They are not plain tech.
And the second one is Karin Dornacher.
Sorry, who?
Karin Dornacher. So I might be pronouncing the name incorrectly. So. Yes.
Okay, so if you like the book, take it home, 3.5 kilo, and we are done. If not, or you want to give it to somebody else, that's fine too. Yep. Into the future. It's again a drawing by somebody for me. Thank you, Paulo. So, thanks.
So, thanks, Frank. I'm afraid that you ate.
Sorry.
I mean, we have minus 8 minutes left for the questions, so I'm afraid that there is no space.
Okay.